People out here in California like to talk about Pismo Beach. It's a popular Southern California place to drive on the beach, run off-highway vehicles and four-wheel drives. But since Pismo is about an 8 or 10 hour drive for me, and I like to get away from the crowds, I did a little researching and found there are lots of beaches in California where it's perfectly legal to drive right in the sand and right up to, or if you're crazy enough like me, even into the water. Join us as we discover beach jeeping in Northern California. One of the resources we checked with was CaliforniaBeaches.com. That's all one word, California Beaches, which listed 11 beaches north of San Francisco where it's currently legal to take your rig right out on the shore. I was amazed. With all the environmental rules out here in California, I thought there wouldn't be even one. The most northern beaches are near Crescent City, California, just 20 miles from the Oregon border. And that's where we headed on a sunny Friday afternoon around New Year's weekend. After leaving the familiar country setting of our own hometown and braving the freeways of the San Francisco Bay Area, we crossed the Richmond Bridge on U.S. Highway 101. The bay was calm and sunny, a gorgeous day for sailors or fishermen. US 101 is sometimes a country road almost. Sometimes it's highway, sometimes it's freeway, but on and on we traveled. With single-lane roads in many areas due to construction, it took us a full 10 hours to make Crescent City, and we got there after dark. The next morning we woke up to drizzle, and we wondered if the plan was a mistake. But fortunately, the drizzle soon stopped, and we had a great day.
It says an 800 feet turn right. There's a big berm across here. I think we're not supposed to go across there.
According to the online map we consulted, the first place we wanted to head was Tolowa Dunes State Park. The countryside was beautiful, but finding the park proved to be a challenge. There were not a lot of road signs, and our iPhone maps really weren't a lot of help either. We found gates, lots of gates, and then we found this sign that talks about the northern section, so we thought maybe we should go somewhere else. We found a map that was very helpful at the unmanned ranger station, and finally we could see that there were several access points to the park. We just had to do a little more exploring and find the right one.
So, we managed to find the north end. There's no signs out by the road, but we drove through an area that looks like grassy dunes, and lo and behold, here's the Pacific Ocean. I think we found it, and we can drive right out there. Wow.
What a feeling of exhilaration and freedom to be able to run freely along the beach and having it mainly to ourselves. We had 2 guys there that were fishing, but other than that, no one else. No jeepers, no other rigs. Ariel, our dog, went wild, running around in the sand and in the water, and we went wild with the camera, trying to capture a bit of the wildness and savagery of the ocean. And while we were gifted with being able to tame it just a bit to drive along here, one wrong move and the pounding waves of the rising tide could have turned a fun day into an oops kind of day.
Get out of your way. Have a great day.
After exploring the sandy shore, we started to walk amongst the grasses of the dunes. A feeling of tranquil solitude flooded over us. And since our gas gauge on the Jeep was reading nearly empty, we decided to head off the beach and come back to spend a little more time discovering more of the dunes themselves.
Okay, that's interesting.
The only problem we faced was that even with front and rear lockers, we couldn't get enough traction to get up the path off the beach. We made several tries, and I was starting to have that sinking feeling this was going to be one of those great fireside stories about my own stupidity. One last attempt, though, parallel with the dunes, and we were able to get enough speed up to make it up the road through the dunes on the sand.
Thank God. Thank the Lord.
When we came back from putting gas in the Jeep, we headed straight into the dunes and the wildlife area next to the dunes on the freshwater Lake Earl. More tranquility and solitude was ours, as we had this place also nearly to ourselves. Crescent City has an interesting history and sights to see. Of course, the Native Americans were well established here when Spaniards first set foot in the area. Russians also explored in the California coast, and they established Fort Ross over 300 miles to the south of Crescent City. The first Americans, we might say, spent time here in 1828, and the town was established in 1853 after gold was discovered in the area and a harbor for shipping. The waters near Crescent City are treacherous, as shown by multiple shipwrecks in the area, and this led to the building of the Battery Point Lighthouse in 1856, which is pictured here. We were here in the off-season, so no tours were available, but during the spring and summer and fall, you can tour the lighthouse. Even with the Battery Point Lighthouse, though, the paddle steamer Brother Jonathan struck an uncharted reef in 1865. Of the 244 persons aboard, only 19 survived, and this led to the construction in 1892 of the St. George Reef Lighthouse on a rocky reef 6 miles offshore. The topography of the seafloor near Crescent City has the effect of funneling the energy of tsunamis. So when the Good Friday 9.2 earthquake struck Anchorage, Alaska in 1964 on March 27th, the town of Crescent City was struck with 4 waves, the highest nearly a 21-foot surge. It took 12 lives, destroyed hundreds of buildings, most of the downtown washed flat. And then in 2011, the 9.0 earthquake, which devastated Tohoku, Japan on March 11th, generated a tsunami wave which severely damaged the harbor and killed 1 person in Crescent City. No wonder then that signage all along this area includes tsunami warnings and evacuation information. I remember when I was a kid, 7 years old in 1964, I still vividly remember the newspaper and television pictures showing the damage from the waves. Well, next on our maps are beaches around Eureka, California, and the northernmost of these is the Samoa Dunes State Park, located next to a Coast Guard installation. Eureka, California is about 70 miles from Crescent City and through the indescribable redwood country of Prairie Creek Redwoods State Park and the Redwood National Park. Several days should be spent in this area, not just a quick drive-through, but our aim on this trip was beach exploration, and we kept with our plan. Samoa Dunes was loads of fun. The beach is more level, much wider here, and the dunes have an off-highway section for four-wheelers, off-roaders, and the like. It was a total blast. I said the beach was a blast, and it was. And the dunes themselves were a blast too, right up until the point that we lost our power steering pump and the Jeep, and I suddenly wondered if we were going to make it out. And then I kind of got turned around and felt lost for a while, but soon we were making our way out of the park. During the Second World War, this whole dune area was a defense installation, and many of the concrete bunkers are still visible. The loss of our Jeep's power steering while we were negotiating the dunes settled our fate, and we called it quits Saturday night and headed for home instead of staying the whole weekend and exploring more beaches. If you're willing to skip the redwoods and concentrate on beaches like we did, I would suggest taking Interstate 5 to Redding, California, and then the mountainous US 299 west to the coast. Driving time is similar, but I found it a lot less fatiguing to go home that way. Anyway, next time we head to the North Coast, some of these beaches that we're showing you are going to be on our top to-do list. And friend, we want to thank you for joining us.